Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Jack Ma is a familiar name all over the world, in India as well. In China, he is a household name. Now, Jack Ma is among the richest people in the world. Forbes magazine, in its last rankings, listed him at number 20. So, a very rich man. He was worth $50 billion, about $50 billion at that time. Now might be a bit less for reasons that we'll explain to you. Still large enough. He founded the Alibaba Group, which was kind of China's answer to Amazon. And then he set up another company called Ant. The Ant Group is more into fintech, that is using technology to do business with finance. Both became mega companies. He also became a big investor in tech companies or around the world, especially startups, even in India. He's quite well known because he has a bunch of investments in Indian companies, for example, Paytm, whose founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma also is among our esteemed investors. So Paytm, Zomato, Big Basket, he's an investor in all those companies as well. Now, what happened with him was that 2 months back, that is first week of November, just when he was a few days away from the IPO of his big fintech giant, the Ant Group. Now that had already been valued pre-IPO at $280 billion. And the IPO itself was expected to value it at about $315 billion. That's more than Saudi Aramco. This would have been the biggest IPO in the history of the world. Just a few days before that, his top executives were summoned by the Chinese regulators and told to basically be good boys and stop the IPO. And they were told that they had done many things wrong on compliances from regulatory point of view, and they needed to clean up their act. This now caused a chill in the markets globally. And this was also seen as a big takedown of Jack Ma, one of China's poster boys and a big success story. Now, Jack Ma has been in trouble since then. After that, the Chinese government and regulators have moved on to him in many other areas as well. Latest is that Chinese regulators have told him to stop all financial business in his Ant Group, and they've said, in Alibaba and Ant Group, and they've said confine yourself to being a payment system. Payment system is a bit like PayPal. PayPal is the kind of a system on which, say, if you were living overseas and subscribe to us, you will use that. There is Razorpay that you use if you are in India. So he's now been told to go back to being a company like PayPal, and I will explain to you what the implications of that will be for Jack Ma's businesses. Now, Jack Ma was born as Ma Yun. A lot of the Chinese people, as they get westernized and as they do more and more of their business in the West, do tend to take Western style names as well, and that's what Jack Ma also did. Now, as we tell you the Jack Ma story, and I will not go into the minutiae of what happened to his business and his valuations, what happened to his share prices, because one, that is not the area of my domain knowledge. It may be so of great interest to some of you, but those of you who are interested in that stuff know better than me and also know where to find that stuff. I will share a bunch of articles with you from Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and other publications, South China Morning Post, Economist, so you can get more information where you need it. But we are telling you the larger China story through the Jack Ma story. And as we tell you that story, we have to mention two more names. So one is Zhang Zhan. Now, Zhang Zhan is a freelance or independent journalist in Wuhan. Second is a man called Ren Zhiqiang. Ren Zhiqiang is or was one of China's biggest real estate entrepreneurs. Now, what happened? Zhang Zhan is the most recent story. In fact, you will see that story on your screens today because that story is buzzing and in your newspapers tomorrow. Zhang Jian was a 37-year-old woman who reported on the spread of the virus, of the coronavirus in Wuhan, and who did a series of articles including live streaming on her phone to say that the government was not able to control it and that the claims that the government was making were not correct. Now, government in China does not like these things, particularly under Xi Jinping. So what happened? She was arrested. She was jailed. In jail, she refused to eat. So she is being force-fed through a tube because you can't do a satyagraha in a Chinese jail. And today, she's been sentenced to 4 years in prison. And 4 years in prison on what charge? Basically taking pangas, basically creating trouble, getting into arguments and fights. 4 years in jail just for doing this. So Zhang Jian, a 37-year-old independent journalist. The other one, Ren Zhiqiang. Now, Ren Zhiqiang was among China's biggest real estate tycoons, but he had one problem. He had verbal diarrhea in Chinese terms. So he could not but speak his mind, and he was quite outspoken. So he was critical of the Chinese government, particularly Xi's government many times. He was also somebody who was seen to be high up in the party hierarchy and also connected very high up in the party hierarchy. Frankly, anybody who's in the big real estate business usually is well connected in power elites anyway. But he himself was a crucial member at some level high up in the Communist Party, but he was critical of Xi Jinping. So what he did was, he wrote an article. Xi Jinping made a speech basically claiming success after coronavirus, etc., claiming how well China had done. So Ren Zhiqiang wrote an article from which I quote a para for you from a BBC article. He wrote, and I quote, "I too am curiously and conscientiously studying the speech. What I saw was not an emperor standing there exhibiting his new clothes, but a clown who stripped naked and insisted on continue being an emperor." Now, it does look like he never said that Xi Jinping is somebody he was referring to, but this came just after Xi Jinping's speech. This translation I've taken is from a BBC article which I'm sharing with you. Now, when that happened, it was immediately taken by the Chinese government or the Chinese Communist Party as an act of defiance. Now, this is a time where, as this BBC correspondent, whose article I've taken this translation from, he is the China correspondent for BBC, Stephen McDonnell. He says that, look, now Xi Jinping is basically enjoying a Mao Zedong level of deification. So you can say nothing against him. So what's happened to Mr. Ren Zhiqiang? We told you Zhang Jian has been sent to jail for 4 years for quarreling and arguing and being a nuisance because she dared to report on the spread of the virus in Wuhan. And Ren Zhiqiang has been jailed just a few months back in September 2020 for 18 years. 18 years. And what are the charges? That this man, who's worth multi-tens of billions of dollars, he took a bribe of 1.25 million yuan. You can figure that out. You will see that figure in rupees and dollars on the screen. So for just that much, that is really like somebody who owns the world's largest airline, who owns, say, China's largest airline, being picked up for bicycle theft and jailed for 18 years. He went to a court. He did not contest it very much. He even said he will not appeal, probably because he thinks that this is a kind of good conduct, so he will get maybe a better cell in the jail. That's what I read in international media. But also because he knows, and everybody knows, that when the Chinese state takes you to trial, puts you to trial in a case like this, their success in securing a conviction is almost 100%. So there is no point, na vakil, na appeal, na dalil. You know what's happened, what has to happen to you will happen to you. So this was for taking a bribe of 1.25 million yuan and also embezzling about 50 million more yuan. So that is all. So he's gone to jail. Zhang Jian has gone to jail. Jack Ma has not gone to jail, but he's in trouble himself, and I will tell you how. So first of all, he's been told he and his companies have to return to their root business, which is return to their roots and become a provider of payment services, which means all the businesses in consumer loans, wealth management, insurance, online finance business, etc., 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 all of it goes out of the window. Now, as this happened, first of all, he lost the opportunity of that IPO, and now obviously he can't go for that IPO right now, or maybe even in the near future, and definitely not at valuation, because his value has been shot. His business has been shot, and I will explain to you how. And also his existing companies, Alibaba for example, lost almost anything between 16 to 20% of its value right away. That's the reason I had said earlier on that when he was ranked by Forbes magazine, he was worth about $50 billion. He may be a bit less now, because a lot of his value was knocked out. In fact, that action by the Chinese government, it was quite a drastic action. It led to an immediate loss of value of nearly $300 billion from stock markets in China and Hong Kong, basically of the Chinese companies or China-based companies. Now, if you look at the data in his prospectus, then you understand what a big blow it is for Jack Ma. See, in the first 6 months of this financial year in China, his business from digital financial technology activities was 63% of his turnover. His business from his payments business, that is his traditional business, was 36%. So if you say I'm making a loose comparison, look at the Bajaj Group. The Bajaj Group always made scooters. As times changed, they also set up a big finance company. In the course of time, the finance company grew much bigger than the scooters company. Scooters company is also very big and powerful, but the finance company became the engine in a way that drives the group. Very loose comparison, but something like that happened to Ant Group also. 63 to 36 is the ratio now. 63 fintech, 36 payment business. Go back to 2012. What was the ratio? 2012 payments business was 55%, fintech business was 44%. So you can see that one is growing bigger than the other. It's not as if the payments business is becoming smaller, but the fintech business is growing much, much faster. The other thing that this company does is this makes money through credit technology, which means various platforms who lend and borrow money through this platform, who use his tech platform, that is Ant's and Alibaba's tech platform. So Jack Ma's tech platforms end up giving fees to them. Now those fees have also been going up. So the increase in the size of business over the past year in fintech is 57%, and in payments business is only 13%. So what this means is, if he has to stop his fintech business, what this means is that he loses 63% of an operation that posted 60% growth last year. So you can imagine this is like taking the heart out of his business or his prospectus or his IPO proposition. Because what is an IPO? What is stock market? It is an idea. You sell a dream, an idea, and you say, I have done it before, I will do it again. Now the big boss has told you, you wretched fellow, don't do this, you are getting too big for your boots, I am laying down the law for you, go to hell. This is what it is. Now, why is this happening? If you read all the global media, and that is our best source, including from many Chinese origin scholars and quotes from them, Jack Ma became a superstar in China. He became a superstar not just as a big tycoon, and I will tell you what his nickname had come to be. In fact, so as Jack Ma became a bigger phenomenon, he also became quite a star in popular culture. He was the first Chinese that Donald Trump met in 2016, fascinated by him immediately after he had got elected as president. Then he also acted in a kung fu film. He himself is a martial arts enthusiast. He acted in a kung fu film as an unconquerable kung fu master who then knocks out one kung fu master after another. So, seen in a Superman image, and he could do everything better than anybody else. He sang a song jointly with Faye Wong, who is one of China's biggest pop divas. He also painted jointly with China's top painter Zheng Fauzi, and that painting sold for $5.4 million on Sotheby's, because anything he touched turned to gold. And that's when problems began, because China also was by now seeing a lot of inequality. So if I see this article in the New York Times, which I am sharing with you, it tells you that while China has done very well even this year despite the pandemic and despite the American sanctions, the fact is that inequality in China has grown. So more than 60 crore people in China now live on less than $150 a month. That at a time when China has more billionaires than US and India combined. So you can see the difference or the inequality, and Chinese were brought up in the communist system, so that DNA is still there. Second, other data point that you look at in China this year, growth has been there, but consumption, if you take the entire population of China, has declined by 5%. Where has the growth come from? That while consumption per capita has declined by 5%, spending on luxury goods has risen by 50%, which means the rich have got richer, the poorer haven't got richer, they've got a little bit poorer, they've had a little less. So because of that, resentment of the rich has built up. You see some of that in India. So some bit of the equivalent of Ambani Adani also is happening in China, except they then take it a step further. So in China, he's been called villain, an evil capitalist, a blood-sucking ghost. Also in China this year, housing has become expensive. A lot of Chinese have sent their children to universities overseas for very expensive education. They've come back and they found that white-collar jobs are not available now. That will pay for their expenses and the costs of their education. So all that has led to anger. So on social media in China, he became a big target of envy and anger. So there was a posting on social media in China which got 122,000 likes and more than 1 lakh views. And this posting said, an outstanding people's billionaire like Jack Ma will definitely be hanged on top of the lamppost. Do you remember where this comes from? This comes from a line in the French Revolution, right? A la lanterne. So hanging from the lamppost. This I am quoting from a New York Times article. After this, the Chinese Communist Party said that, look, we don't like this disorderly expansion of capital. We should do something about this. So we know that he was made to suspend his IPO and to curtail his activities, basically cut to size, and he was told that you're growing too big for China. But there was another subtext to it, and as we tell you about that, it will bring to the concluding part of our presentation. So that was that he acquired the nickname also of Daddy Ma, right? Because he was a big daddy. Now he acquired the nickname of Daddy Ma, and if I may tell you this, the other gentleman who's now in jail for 18 years, Ren Zhiqiang, he acquired the nickname of Big Cannon. So Big Cannon, बड़ी तोप है तू, सबसे बड़ी तोप तो यहाँ हमें Xi Jinping बोलता है, right? Because he's got an ego and he's a dictator, and no dictator likes anybody becoming more famous, more powerful, more adorable, getting more adulation than him. So the guy who was called the Big Cannon is in jail for 18 months. And for the Big Daddy, he probably had a line. I know he doesn't watch Amitabh Bachchan movies, Xi Jinping doesn't watch them, and definitely not in Hindi. But you remember that line from Shahenshah, from Amitabh Bachchan, रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे बाप लगते हैं, नाम है शहनशाह. So that is what Xi Jinping said to Jack Ma also. You are Daddy Ma, I am your big daddy. How dare you become Daddy Ma? So he's been cut to size as well. And the Chinese Communist Party now says that look, we don't like capitalists who become too rich and have very lavish lifestyles. So Xi Jinping, in fact, 10 days before the IPO was stopped, Ant Group IPO was stopped, Xi Jinping went to a museum in the memory of a Chinese entrepreneur of a century ago, Zhang Jian, and said, look, what a great entrepreneur he was. He built wealth, but he also built his hometown fully, hometown of Nantong. He built hundreds of schools. He is the role model that everybody should follow. Now, the New York Times article says that he obviously did not mention that this gentleman, Zhang Jian, died bankrupt. So, obviously, politicians are politicians. They tell you what they want to tell you. And he then made it a kind of role model for all other new Chinese dadas, businessmen to follow, that if you want to make profits, do business in China, then follow these rules. There are many who think that Xi Jinping is taking China back to the 1950s style communist control. A lot of the stuff that you see in communist press, most of the press is communist press, is about capitalist leanings, impurities and flaws and weaknesses of capitalists. I mean, at least from the translations I have read from all over, I haven't found the expression capitalist roader. But this is maybe the new speak for capitalist roader. And his concern is not just about Jack Ma or about Ren Zhiqiang, but also about people like, say, the founder of Tencent. Now, Tencent is a big gaming company, big dada all over the world. You want to know what kind of investments Tencent has in India? If I list them for you, you will think that these are even bigger than Jack Ma. So Tencent has Byju's, Dream11, Flipkart, Hike, Swiggy, Udaan, Ibibo, Khatabook, Practo, all the big Indian startups have investments from Tencent. So he is putting now restraints on Tencent as well, because he does not like this. So 69 Chinese companies and venture capital firms have now funded 104 shining startups across the world. He doesn't mind that, but what he does not like is anybody becoming too big or anybody acquiring a voice. And I will tell you how that works. How that works is you can grow, you can do your business, but you should always know that the party is supreme. So increasingly now, Chinese private companies are also setting party committees within the companies. So they keep their companies and their philosophy, but more importantly, their language in consonance with what is demanded by the state or by Xi Jinping. So there is a graphic in The Economist which tells you, it's a stunning graphic, which tells you how chamchagiri of Xi Jinping has gone up in China, within corporate China, in the past 3 or 4 years or 5 years. So if you see this graphic, it tells you in 2017, only 10 Chinese companies, private companies, praised Xi Jinping in their prospectuses annual reports. In 2019, this had become 280. In 2020, it is almost 400. So this is the chamchagiri index, which means if you have to survive and do business, one, stay within your limits, don't become too powerful, and second, always acknowledge who the boss is. Aap daddy nahi hai, I am the big daddy. So what does it all add up to? The Economist thinks that this adds up to Xinomics. What is Xinomics? Xinomics is a new kind of state capitalism that Xi Jinping is unveiling. And this Xinomics has 3 features. One, tight control on the economic cycle and debt machine, which means banks, etc. Second, more effective administrative state, also allowing bankruptcies and patent lawsuits in a more orderly manner than before. So Wild West capitalism will not be allowed. And number 3, blur the boundary between the state and private firms. which means even the SOEs, as PSUs are called in China, what we call as PSUs, public sector undertakings, China they say state-owned enterprises, SOEs. So SOEs also try to get private investors, they improve their profits. Of course, where they are monopolies, they continue to be monopolies. That doesn't change. Also, he has gone after build-up of the debt, which at one point, the total percentage of private and public debt as percentage of GDP had gone up to 300%, which is quite scary. He's building the bond market. So he's doing all that and he's happy for all that to happen as long as he sits on top of it. Everybody does salam to him and plays by his rules. Now, where will Shinomics lead China? We don't know for sure. What we know, however, is that in the short run, China has not done too badly. China's debt mountain has lessened a little bit. China has withstood the pandemic. China has also withstood the American sanctions. But can you have this kind of state control and still have innovation in that economy? Because from what we know, innovation, a kind of innovation that gig economies and the new technologies or tech economies require thrives in democratic, open societies. So can China work that miracle also? I hope not, because that will be a disaster for the rest of the world. It will set the wrongest possible example. But that is where he is now headed. And if you tell Xi Jinping that, hey, Xi Jinping, you are being arrogant, he will say, look at what China has done. In 1995, China was 2% of the global economy. Today, it's 16% of the global economy. In fact, we saw reports just last week that told us that China will now overtake America as the largest economy in the world much earlier than thought. That is in 2028. Of course, it will be much lower in terms of per capita incomes. I'm sharing that report also for you. So that is the reason we talk about China, Xi Jinping, what he's doing, Shinomics in detail, and use Jack Ma as the spark, or the Jack Ma story as the spark to tell you or to paint for you this larger picture.